Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're decoding some deeply profound theology by looking at it like the balancing of cosmic scales. We aren't here to endorse a specific viewpoint, but rather to unpack the precise architecture of two ancient foundational ideas, ransom and atonement. It's an incredibly fascinating framework, so let's get right into exactly how it functions. Here is our roadmap to break down this dense text logically, step by step. First, we'll examine the undeserved kindness. Second, we'll introduce the last Adam. Third, we'll contrast ransom versus atonement. And finally, we'll explore restoring the relationship. Okay, let's dive into this with part one, the undeserved kindness. To really ground our understanding, we have to start right at the source. Ephesians 1:7 says, "By means of him, we have the release by ransom through the blood of that one, yes, the forgiveness of our trespasses, according to the riches of his undeserved kindness." This single verse is literally the bedrock for everything we're going to explore today. It introduces the main characters, the central action, and the absolute driving motivation behind the whole shebang. Let's pull that scripture part of it. You can think of it as three interconnected gears. First, you've got a release by ransom, which is a literal transaction. The second gear is the result, the forgiveness of trespasses, or wrongdoings. But it's the third gear that really drives it all. This entire mechanism stems from the riches of his undeserved kindness, meaning this transaction doesn't happen because someone earned it. It's driven entirely by profound, unmerited generosity. Which brings us to an equation that needs to be perfectly balanced in part two, the last Adam. In this theological framework, a massive cosmic deficit was created by Adam, the first man, who lost his human perfection through sin. Now, on the flip side of that scale, we have Jesus, who is actually referred to as the last Adam. 1 Corinthians makes the point that as a perfect man, Jesus was the exact equal of the first man, Adam, before he sinned. So we're not just talking about any random life for a life here. It's a one-to-one correspondence, total perfection lost, total perfection presented. Now, what's really interesting about this is how much it functions like an accounting ledger. Under the deficit column, we have Adam's sin and the perfect life that was lost. Over in the payment column, we have Jesus' death. The logic laid out in Romans chapter 5 is that Jesus atoned for Adam's sin by directly replacing exactly what was lost. Literally nothing more, nothing less. The payment precisely matches the deficit, snapping that scale right back to dead center. So the crucial point is, because this equation balanced out so perfectly, the transaction only ever needed to happen once. The book of Hebrews emphasizes that Jesus died once for all time. Think about that. There is absolutely zero need for another perfect person to ever come along and pay for what Adam lost. The deficit was wiped clean by one single definitive payment. The transaction is fully and permanently complete. Let's move to and see how this builds into part three, ransom versus atonement. So, what exactly is the difference between the atonement arrangement and the ransom? Honestly, in casual conversation, people mush these terms together all the time, like they're the exact same thing. But in the source text, they are completely distinct concepts. Let's separate them out. First up, the ransom. The text defines the ransom strictly as the price paid to make atonement possible for sinful mankind. Think of it as the currency. It's the quantifiable value required to balance that cosmic ledger we were just looking at. And in this framework, that price is represented physically and spiritually by Jesus' precious blood. So the ransom is the tool, the payment, the currency itself. Now, if the ransom is the currency, the atonement arrangement is the action. It's the purposeful action God takes to restore a good relationship between himself and mankind. Atonement isn't the price tag. It's the actual reconciliation that happens because the price was paid. In short, the ransom is what was given. The atonement is what is ultimately achieved. And that brings us to the ultimate result of this theological equation in part four, restoring the relationship. And this brilliantly illustrates the seamless sequential logic of grace we've been unpacking. Step one, the perfect life is lost through Adam, creating our deficit. Step two, the exact corresponding price is paid through the ransom provided by Jesus, which perfectly balances the ledger. And step three, the relationship is restored through the atonement arrangement initiated by God. It is just a perfectly structured progression from total loss to exact payment to complete restoration. which leaves us with this profound outcome, a restored, good relationship between God and mankind. So if such an immense, exact price was paid to balance the ledger of humanity, how does the reality of that restored relationship impact the way you and I live our everyday lives? It's kind of a staggering thought when you sit and consider the sheer weight of that undeserved kindness. For more information, please visit jw.org. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and press the bell icon to get the notification for new videos.